Put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is.
Hey, welcome to Tailgate Beers. Ryan and Austin here as usual. Hey, we've got a special guest with us tonight playing here at Cruisin's on Farmington Road here in West Peoria. Randall King, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good to be here, boys. Good to be here.
So we were talking off camera just before we jumped on, and you've been to Springfield, but have you ever been to Peoria area before?
I really don't think we have. I think Springfield's the closest we've come out here. Chicago's a couple hours away. We did Joe's up there on Weed Street. We've done that. Opened for Kojo in Hoffman Estates almost 3 years ago at this point.
There you go.
So, yeah, we've been around the area.
So you're a Texas boy, I know. I've done the research on that, and tell us about your journey as far as getting into music as growing up in Texas.
I grew up. I called myself like a panhandle mutt because I was born in Amarillo, grew up in Hereford, Texas. But then I went to high school in Amarillo, graduated from there, left Amarillo, followed my high school sweetheart down to Lubbock to Texas Tech, and went to Tech for a year and a half. Got one good semester, which was my first semester, filled out the other two. Decided that was not for me. Business degree was not it. Still remember calling my dad going, "Hey, man, I know what you spent at this university, but I got a plan. Don't worry, I got a plan. But I'm not going to go to Tech anymore." Boy, that was probably one of the hardest phone calls I've ever made to my dad. But decided to go to South Plains College out in Levelland, get a sound tech degree, learn how to produce my own records, learn how to work the studio. And then I just started going to bars, following acts around, learning the ropes from the outside perspective, and getting myself in the doors.
Whatever happened to the girl?
Oh, we broke up. Okay. Second semester of college, man.
Okay.
And it was. I think it was February.
And
what would be 2010?
So you're running around Texas doing all this. What's kind of the point where you get to call your dad and say, "Man, I think this is working out. I think this is going to be something."
My dad didn't believe in it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He was everything I did for a long time, like through college. It was like, yeah, you still got some learning to do. You can tell you still got some learning to do. And about 2014, 2015, I had a band right out of college and even in college it was like the Red Dirt Americana thing. We recorded a record in the basement of the Texas Tech Library, which is like they have a really nice studio down there.
Oh,
wow. Terrible record. We buried it. Can't find it. Don't even try. You can't find it no more. But it just wasn't me. And about 2015, I started going back to my roots, was doing the country thing, which is who I am naturally. It's the kind of country music I grew up on, traditional. And I wrote a song called Another Bullet, and my dad heard it, and he goes, "Okay, I think you might got this thing figured out, son. I think you can do this." And he invested in me and helped me put together my first EP. I want to say it was my grandma gave me $1,000, and my daddy gave me $1,500, and I was able to finish the EP. Everything else, like we played in dive bars, like 3-hour sets in New Mexico, 2 nights a weekend. Just 3 hours in a row, and we would do this. I'd pay my guys as much as I could, and then the rest went right into the EP. So it was self-funded through the bars, and those are the moments that he was like, "Hey, you can do this. You got this. I see it, and I believe in you." And I don't think I've ever truly paid him back, but he doesn't want to be paid back. So he was, he said, "Just let me be your bus driver one day." I said, "All right, cool."
There you go.
Is he still your bus driver?
Every now and then.
Okay.
Every now and then. He's raising grandkids, man. He had to adopt my oldest sister's kids, and so he still got 3 in the house. Okay. So he'll be raising kids almost as long as I'm raising kids, which is.
And how many kids do you have? See a girl?
I got one. She's 4 months old.
Oh,
wow! Congrats! Yeah.
Thank you.
Very new.
Best thing that's ever happened to me, man.
Yeah. We're both girl dads. And
Hell yeah. Let's go.
I got 2. I got a 12-year-old boy and then a 10-year-old girl.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I'm a grandpa actually. I've
Oh,
got yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Are you young, Grandpa?
Yeah. You said you mentioned 2009. You were a freshman in college. In 2009, I retired from the military in
Wow.
2009.
Well, thank you for your service.
Absolutely, my pleasure. But yeah, no, I've got a 23-year-old daughter that's married and
That's
has her
crazy.
own kid.
What were you like 14
Colton.
when you had her?
Yeah,
Damn.
crazy.
I wasn't that
He's a
young.
young dude.
But yeah, and then I've got the 2 sons and another daughter as well. So I got 4 myself.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Right now, it's just one.
Yeah.
Just one for me. And she's perfect. She's literally all I need right now.
They grew up fast. You know, you
Dude,
blink.
I hate
Crazy.
sounding like that, but
No, I know. Well, I mean, that's I'm already seeing it, man. Like, I talked to a guy on the plane yesterday from Nashville to Chicago, and he was probably late 20s, and they had a toddler flying with them that was 1 year old, and I was like, mine's 4 months. He goes, man, to be honest with you, like the first 6 months, like sucked. It was just bland. It wasn't for me. And I was like, really? It was like the moment she was born, it was like everything for me. Like I've been locked in with that little girl for 4 months. Like that's
dude,
my
I miss
nug,
I
dude.
miss those days.
Oh man, everything she does puts a smile on
We
my
would.
face. She can cry and I smile. Like, I
The
love
thing is, like, too, is because my son, you know, it's different. You don't have a toddler running around.
Yeah.
So I'd come home from work, and he had this chair in his room, and I would play Dave Matthews Live in Wrigley, or I would play Jack
awesome.
Johnson's album, and I'd put it up there on a deal, and I'd hold him, and this is going to be frowned upon a lot of people, but I'd sometimes pass out. You know, we'd sit there, and we'd both
Yeah.
take a little nap.
That's
And just-
okay.
and everything was
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, dude.
I do feel a little bad because then as we had my daughter, you can't just do that when you have a 2-year-old running around. So I didn't necessarily get that same just peaceful, but those days of that there's nothing else going on.
Oh yeah.
Just you and them, and
Yeah,
man, I miss it. And a buddy just told me today that he's expecting, and you know, he made the comment. He's like, yeah, but he's like, you know, it's pretty early in their pregnancy, and so I was like, well, you know, just take each day. He's like, yeah, you know, we should be fine. And I'm like, hey, my only advice to you, and this means that when they're 5, when they're 10, just take it one day at a time.
Yeah, dude.
Don't count your chickens before they
Yep.
hatch. Don't think.
Don't
just
get ahead
just
of
appreciate
yourself.
this moment
Yeah.
right now.
Oh,
And that's what I
yeah,
told
man.
him because
And it's hard, man. You know, Britt's postpartum, and she's going through a lot with just the lack of sleep. So you do what you can on your end, but you know, she was like, I can't wait till Paisley can like do things on her own. And I was like, honestly, like you say that, but like it's like you know, it's a Trace Atkins song. You're gonna miss this.
Yo, my
Like,
gosh.
you're gonna miss it. You know what I mean? Like she's already doing so many things on her own. She can kind of like roll over and do her things, and I'm like, just hold on, baby. Hold on.
I just sat on
Wait
a
a
boat
second.
with my 10-year-old daughter sitting on my lap, riding across Table Rock, and that song came on. And I haven't heard that, and so because I don't really listen to the radio much,
dude,
and you don't probably hear that unless you go find it. But
Yeah.
listen to that, and I'm like, dude,
Oh man,
it just made
perfect
my
timing.
whole heart
Oh,
melt
yeah.
because you know now my
Yeah.
boy rides off to baseball on his scooter, and he's riding miles across town, baseball bag on his back. See you, Dad. I mean,
Dude.
it's as close to him driving off in a car where I'm like,
Yeah.
shit, man, it's crazy.
It makes me sad. It makes me sad thinking about all that because,
No, just
like, man, it's just my favorite thing right now is since she was born, she fits perfectly like right here in my arm. So like, she can't go nowhere. So she'll fuss until you can like sit her up where she can sit, and then you walk around. She just sees things and looks around. I call it free rides. So like when she's fussing, I'm like, you just want free rides. And I put her up there and like we just walk around, dude. And she puts one arm up like it's an armrest and just kind of hangs out and chills and watches
Yeah.
everything. And it's
every day,
amazing.
man. Here's a cool thing with you being on the road. I'll give you this. So you should do this. If you have to let me know if you actually end up doing it. But it's early enough, and you could go back even to you remember enough about birth, you know, all that stuff. But you should start her a Gmail account right now,
Okay.
and then just email her every day or every week. It's essentially like a diary.
That's cool.
And then you could email photos.
Yeah.
You could email, and someday she'll be 18, and you'll just essentially give her this email address
Oh,
that's just
man.
going to have
That's amazing. It's brilliant.
I don't know if it's brilliant. I mean, there's other
I think
other
it's
cool
brilliant.
apps.
I've heard that kind of a thing before.
You could do it in a note. You could do it in a note on your phone, essentially.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, you could. There are ways. When I started it, it was that those things weren't really going on necessarily in 2015 the way. And somebody had told me about that, of like starting an email address, and because again, we all use email and stuff, so it's super easy just to fire something like that away. You can add an attachment really easy. And
I started my kids when it was MySpace, so now I can't find them.
But that food for
There's
thought
nothing no
would be
more.
kind of cool. Even if it goes months
would be
without
amazing,
it,
yeah.
someday when they get that, all these letters from Dad, essentially, really is what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know who would cry more, them or me.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's beautiful, though.
But no, so I have a question back to the music part, because we get off on kids forever too.
Nah, dude, I can talk Paisley all day.
Me and Dan, who's in here, we have conversations all the time about like who's gonna be the next George Strait. And I don't want to boost your, make your head too big, but I do feel like there aren't too many people that sing that type of country music anymore.
Well, thank you.
We got a few, but I do feel like your voice is very unique. There's not a lot of people that sound like you to that George Strait, like just that pure voice,
Yeah.
But who in your mind are people that you kind of have looked up to, and even
tons.
whether it's now in music or past, like who are you seeing and listening to and looking up to?
There's so much music in the world these days. There's so much access to it. It's so easy to find music. Where 20 years ago, like you relied on CDs.
Mm-hmm.
The internet was there, but it wasn't as easy to access music still, right? So you kind of relied on the radio. You relied on Walmart albums, things like that. So, 16-year-old me had a 1997 single cab short bed Chevy, and it was a single cab. It was CD player. It was jacked up, and I had to lower the damn thing. I was like, we ain't doing no jacked up. Like, no, give me the classic truck. But 16-year-old me took those old Walmart CDs of Dirk Bentley's first 3 records. There's 2 of George Strait's record, which was Somewhere Down in Texas, and It Just Comes Natural. Clay Walker's Fall.
Oh,
Billy Carrington's Good Directions. And Aldean's first 2
Amarillo
records.
or
Yeah, dude. And I cruised the highway all the time, man. Just even if I just drove around town, just listening to music. That was my way of learning country music, listening to the songs, diagnosing it all. So for me, that era, like 16 years old, shaped a lot for me, especially those first 3 Dirk's records as far as shaping who I am as a songwriter. Now, vocally, dude, I grew up on some of the best voices ever. Whitley, Strait, Alan Jackson, John Anderson. I sat there as a kid in the passenger seat of my daddy's Freightliner, just imitating John Anderson. I just always swinging.
oh yeah.
Swinging. Like, come on, man. John Anderson was one of the best to ever do it. Chicken truck. Hey, I did damn stuff.
No one sounded like him.
Loved it, dude. So,
Dirk Bentley, that album too. Talk about underrated.
Oh, so
also,
good.
and again, I know Dirk's has had again Father, Family Life all come in, but that early Dirk Bentley album,
They were so good.
Was
His very first record, the self-titled record.
I know exactly
was
which one
like,
it is.
Man, it was so good.
And Clay Walker, that one we've talked about again.
That was his comeback record, dude. That was a record like he had that hiatus where, what's the disease he has?
Yeah, I just saw him on stage. That viral thing of him getting carried off stage, kind of or helped off stage.
Yeah, he does a charity for it down there in Pebble Beach. I don't know why that's slipping in my mind. MS. Yes.
Yeah.
He had the hiatus from the 90s into like that early 2000s, like probably like a 5-6 year hiatus where he was out, and that fall record put him back on the map. And you talk about a record, dude. That's one of my favorites ever. Got that Freddie Fender song on there. Like,
Yeah,
I'll be there before the next.
His early one, I used to sing performances to my babysitter, and she probably wanted to just burn that record in the 90s and shit. I was like 8 years old, wanting to perform on the bed, bounce up and down. Yeah, that Clay Walker album was so good.
Oh yeah, dude.
So you take all those influences that you had growing up and listening to in your Chevy truck, and when did it become a thing to start writing music for you?
Honestly, man, I've been writing since I was a kid too.
Really?
I mean, I've played music my whole life. I've sang since I could talk. I got a guitar when I was 7 because I was annoying my parents. I constantly sang. I never stopped. It was a happy thing for me. I was a very happy kid, blessed to be in a great home with great parents, well taken care of. My dad was middle class, hardworking all the way, and always made sure that I was set up for success, whatever that looked like for him as far as busting his ass to get me there. He made sure I was set up for success. So at 7 years old, he bought my first guitar, put me in guitar lessons, and was adamant, pushed me constantly of like, if you want to do this, you're not going to half-ass it. You're going to do it. You're going to learn the lessons. You're going to practice at home. And if you don't, I'm going to sell the guitar. And it was like, oh, well, I don't want you to sell my guitar. Like, that's my guitar.
Yeah.
So, like, I practiced. I learned it, and I'm very grateful for that because, it shaped my work ethic from the time I was a young kid of just having to be consistent at things to get where you want to be in life, hit your goals. But man, I've been writing little songs here and there just from when I was a kid. I have one called Coffee Shop. It was the first song I ever remember writing a melody and a song to, and it was a whole song, but I couldn't remember the song. It came to me about 3 years ago, and I was like, man, I forgot about that song because my dad reminded me about it. He goes, you remember when you were a kid, you sang this little line, you had this whole song about coffee shop, and he sang it back to me, and I was like, dang, that's crazy. So I actually took that, because all it was just, well, it's my day off, and I'm going to the coffee shop. And because my daddy always took me and my sister to the coffee shop to go have coffee and breakfast with my grandparents. And I took that line, brought it to Nashville, and I wrote a whole song. We went ahead and skated out this entire song about the coffee shop. It's one of my favorite songs. Eventually it'll go on a record, but it's technically the first song I ever wrote at 7 years old, right?
Oh, that's sick.
I still have that.
That's badass. How do you feel like right now? I feel like Texas country is as big as, at least from my adult life, that it's ever been. I don't know if that's true, but I just feel like
massive.
every single band at least that I like right now and that we keep seeing, man, they're coming from Texas.
Well, there's some big names that have hit it big, and there's some great names that never did. They stay in Texas and crush it. One of my favorites is William Clark Green.
Okay.
Like his Rose Queen record. I don't know if y'all have ever dug into William Clark Green, but that is as good shit. Real good. He's one of my favorite people, man. But the Texas scene, I think the culture of it, the mentality of it, like we started out in the bars. Like that's how a lot of these guys came up. And so you watched guys like Cody Johnson who went through and was just beating the door down in every honky-tonk in Texas.
True honky-tonks.
And then built it in Texas and then kind of spread out. And he took it here, took it to Chicago, took it to East Coast, West Coast. And he just started building these markets. Well, a lot of people started seeing that and following suit. So then you got like, but even back in you could go 20 years back and you got Pat Green doing the same thing of going to all the college markets, because the college markets is where a lot of that underground music was discovered, and the Texas scene was underground. So you had these college kids that would come down here, come from Lubbock, and they're up in Manhattan, Kansas. So you can go up to Manhattan, Kansas, and all of a sudden you're selling out a show at the Hat because of these college kids that are hearing through the grapevine the way that social media does now.
Yeah. But see, I know like Co Wetzel, even 5 or 6 years ago when I brought up Coetzel coming up here, Wayne's like, dude, it's not going to do well in this market. it just isn't. And it's just crazy how long Coe's been doing it. And then for him to actually headline this past year.
Yeah.
And then on the next night, it was Hardy. But then after that, it was Cody Johnson. And Cody crushed it.
Oh, for
he
sure,
sounded
man.
so good.
For sure.
During his performance.
What a
good dude.
Coe's one of those that just went.
Treaty Oak killed it.
Treaty Oak, too, man. You know, but all these guys, I mean, dude, Treaty Oak opened for they opened for us down in Midland. Like, I want to say 3, if not 4 years ago, at like a little county fair rodeo thing. And I was like, why did they put a rock band in front of us? They were like, we're honky tonk. Like, this is kind of a weird mix. And we sat there and watched them, and I was like, these guys pretty damn good. Kicked ass. And then all of a sudden it was like, boom, rocket ship. And you're like, oh, all right, cool. That's why they were in front of us. Hell
they're
yeah.
a wild crew.
They ain't going to be in front of us no more.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think. So we had George Burge on one of our very first episodes we did about a year ago, and he's a Texas,
boy.
Austin guy, and we talked a lot about the Austin music scene and what's happening down there, and he's even taken off in the last year since we've seen him.
And his story, because it's so crazy how each
We're
person,
on the road with him and Luke right now.
Each person
really?
has a different story. And he
too.
talked about how he actually had a hard copy CD that he gave to somebody, and it actually went somewhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rare.
Like, truly
rare.
gave him a hard copy somehow, and then they ended up wanting to meet up. And
That's
every
old
story
school.
is so cool, though.
That's old school.
Of everybody's story. I don't know that. I mean, we haven't had a very similar story at all of everybody going. I guess everybody's trip to Nashville, which I don't know how often do you go to Nashville?
Well, I live there now.
Oh, you live there full. Okay, so you're not in Texas.
But it was.
full time.
I started going up there in 2016.
Okay.
And I was going up once every 2 months for 1 week at a time just to write. My manager is Scott Gunner, and Scott was setting me up rights up there. Scott, so backstory, Scott is one of the probably most prolific under-the-radar figures in Nashville. He was part of the A&R over there at Universal, and just like I think at this point it was probably 15 years ago, something like that, somewhere in there. He was just tired of the industry. He was tired of watching the way it operated, the way that it was built. It was built on this guy can be an artist. He looks good. Let's give him a song, take him to radio, and build it at radio. Yeah. And that's the way it was built. And he was tired of watching it because he didn't have input in the creativity of the artist. There was no artist development. So he actually left Universal, went on the road, joined up with a band and was selling T-shirts in their van down the highway like road dogging at 50 years old. Like he was doing it. And he teamed up with a guy named Howie Edelman, who manages Cody Johnson.
Okay.
And Roger Prager.
I've heard that name before.
Howie's one of the best in the industry. And Scott has been working with Howie for the last 15 years, A&R and Cody's records, and A&R and my records. He found me in a dive bar in San Angelo, Texas called Blaine's Pub back in 2014, in the fall of 2014. I was playing an acoustic show in the middle of the day.
Just by happenstance that he ran into it?
No, he scouted me out
under
the radar, and he went and watched me. And then he sent me a Facebook message like a creep. And I was like, I looked at it, and he was like, yeah, I'm Scott Gunner, Nashville, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's a load of bullshit. And I bypassed it. I just like swiped it. Like, I'm not going to respond to this shit. Like, this ain't real. And my drummer at the time was like, let me see that. So he looked it up, and he was like, let me just Google the guy. Google Scott Gunner, and he goes, hey, you should probably like reach back out to this guy. I think he's legit. I was like, all right. Dang. So I reached out to him and started sending him songs, and he critiqued me. I drove all the way from Lubbock to Nashville, which is a 15-hour drive, January of 2015 to meet up with him. And then we started working together in 2016. And he was a godsend, man. I don't know where I'd be in my career without Scott.
Well, shout out Scott then.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it's so cool how those people do come in, because you do hear the horror stories, and I'm sure you still have, there's negative stories all the time, but it is cool to hear when it just happens that way, and
yeah, man.
People are able to lead you to that point in your life. And
I slept on his couch for the first 5 years of going up to Nashville, writing songs. I mean, he built it. He built it with me. So
That's awesome. So I know we're probably going to be getting cut off here,
Almost
but
dinner
you know,
time.
you get you release your coffee shop song, and you end up buying a private jet with all the money from it, and you're flying to an island, and the plane starts going down. What 5 albums would you take with you for the rest of your life? What are you grabbing to jump off?
Like I'm gonna be on the island, like the plane's
With,
gonna-
and
I'm
that's
not
all
gonna
you're going to
die.
listen to for the
Okay.
rest of your life.
I was like, this story got pretty cross there real fast.
Yeah,
We've had many a twists and
yeah,
turns.
but we're going
on
down.
this.
Hell
but
yeah,
you
all the
happen to
success.
bring-
I like the story.
You
I don't
happen
like
to
the
bring
story.
every
I'm
single. You happen to
crashing
bring
on an island.
every single album known to man. You have access to
Man.
it. But that's all you're going to listen
That's
to for
tough,
the rest of
dude.
your life.
5. I got to come down with 5.
5 albums.
Oh, interesting. Man, I'm in for sure. You got to do a George Strait record, and for me, it'd be one of those two. It would probably be somewhere down in Texas.
And you might as well just do his greatest hits that has like 86 songs on it probably too.
I mean, you
Might
can,
as well take it.
you can.
Okay.
But the nostalgia of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
record for
Okay.
me.
See, and this is the trick to
Yeah.
the question too. Is if
I mean, you
you're
could
an
have 50
albums person-
songs from his 50 number ones album, or you could have, like, I think it was 12, 13 kick-ass songs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Somewhere down in Texas. I'm gonna choose that record. Dirk's first record. Aldean's Wide Open. Any Merle Haggard record. Any Merle Haggard record. I just want to hear the dude. We'll do the greatest hits record from Merle. We'll do that. Dude, I don't know. The fifth's a toss-up. Probably Keith Whitley's LA to Miami.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's 5.
No, I
There you
love
go.
it. I love it. And I think because I'm the type where, again, I grew up where I think you should listen to it from start to finish.
Yeah.
I love listening to it in that order. And I think today's music, you just bounce all over. And
It's too much,
It's always
man.
in shuffle. But
What? But that's I hate that, man. I hate that, like, Spotify and Apple have this shuffle mode. Like, the day your record comes out, and they just, like, the first time someone listens to your record, they put it on shuffle. You're like, why? Why? Like, it's a set. For me, like, the way we choose the songs layout on the record, it's a set. It's about flow. It's about this song rides into this one. There's a reason that there's a 2-second gap between the songs, so
Yeah.
it gives you a space of a breath of fresh air. It's the same concept of what we do live. Like, you're on a ride, baby.
Yeah.
Like, we've built this. We've figured it out. This is through experience. Come experience it with us.
yes.
So I hate shuffle mode on a damn record.
I think the one thing about Apple Music or any of the digital stuff is, I mean, I used to pull the whole cover out of the CDs or tapes
Oh, yeah.
and open up the whole thing. There's artwork
man.
in there. There was, I love that stuff.
It was
I still
always
lo-
well thought out.
I still love going and viewing credits of songs. I wish
Yeah.
they'd made it easier because I love seeing who's on these songs.
Yeah.
And I also wish I could click on their name and then go to other songs they wrote. I think
yeah,
that'd be cool in
there's,
music.
I
'cause
think
it's-
there's a website that does that.
Oh, really?
I'm trying. I want to say it's like allmusic.com or something like that. But it's like if you just Google songwriter for the, like I said, song, there's a website. I want to say it's allmusic.com.
Okay.
But it pulls up. It's like a Wikipedia page for the track listing, who produced it. Then you click on their name and it shows
Yeah.
you what else they've produced. The
Oh, that'd be
songwriter,
sweet.
like so.
Because I just, whenever I go on Apple Music, I just love seeing like who wrote. And I think, a good example was the one where Morgan wrote that song for his mom. Morgan Wallen
Yeah.
wrote it for his mom. But if you look on it, it's like Miranda Lambert was on that. But what's crazy is then you hear the story of how actually one of the songwriters left her laptop at Miranda's house, so they went there to get it. But then she like added to the song, and I don't know, it's interesting. All these people who you've also have never even heard of, but they're on so many songs.
Oh yeah. Well, they did the stories behind the songs. Like that's one of the best. You could just do a podcast of that where you just talk about how this song become a thing. Like,
Yeah.
let's go through the entire record. I want to hear the story about every single song. Like, I don't
Yeah.
give a shit. 30 song records are kind of crazy, but hey, that's a lot of content. We can talk for days.
Yeah, for sure.
Who are you looking up to, like a current artist today? Who are you looking up to that you kind of want to emulate?
That I want to emulate. I mean, I'm really digging. Like, there's a lot of up and comers right now. And there's guys that are blowing the doors down. I mean, I love listening to Zach Top. I love his sound's incredible. Jake Worthington's my favorite voice in country music. The dude's highly underrated. Put out the best record. He put out flat out the best record I've heard in the last 10 years. Like, it's unbelievable. God, man, I mean, there's a ton of guys that are just amazing to watch live. Tim McGraw's still one of the best to ever do it. So we went on tour with him for a couple weeks back last year, back in April, and watching him play, just decades of these iconic songs, and everything's like Silhouette, and he's all cut and just
but true
around.
true
That's
performer
amazing.
too.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
It's incredible.
But we just had Jason Aldean in Iowa. He headlined in Iowa.
I love Al.
And I've seen Aldean several times, but then you just keep forgetting. Oh man, this banger. Oh yeah,
every single
this
one.
song, and you're like, dude, and he's getting 30 number ones.
Is he really?
Oh, yeah.
He's already there?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And you just forget. You're like, God, and
Oh,
this
yeah,
song's
dude.
great. Oh yeah, and these are the songs that were only radio, because you just think all of them where it's like Asphalt Cowboy and all these ones
Ember of
that
the
were
Sky.
never even on the radio, but are
Yeah.
just so good.
Oh yeah, dude. He's got B-sides for days, man. Like,
Yeah.
That's why I like listening to the records and going through and just finding these, like, some of my favorite songs that he has were never radio singles.
Yeah.
And so that happens with a lot of artists. It happens with George Strait. When you cut a record you cut a record every single year, you're gonna have songs that don't make the radio, right?
For sure.
But there's so many good ones.
Well, we want to thank you
Yeah.
for sitting
Thanks
down
for
and
taking.
Of course, man. Well, I appreciate
building
you guys.
some time, you
bringing me
and
in.
John, for getting this all lined up for us. So
Absolutely. Well, I
Thank you
appreciate you
very
guys
much.
having me.
Look forward to your
Good
first
talking with
cruising tonight, and hope you're back here soon.
yeah,
I hope so too, man. I hope we hit that Tailgate and Tall Boys.
Yeah.
there you go.
Come up there,
Let's make it happen.
pre-show party with you.
Absolutely.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Cheers.
Boys.